couple months ago, there was this interview where this guy tried to get Quentin Tarantino to discuss the possibility that there's a connection between violence in his films and violence IRL. Quentin said, in so many words, that he had no responsibility to speak on behalf of his film, as his film said all he wanted it to.
And I'm shutting your butt down.
And that's entirely your...
One of them fellas over at Penny Arcade then wrote a piece about how when video games get blamed for violent acts or corrupting our youth or punching the ozone layer in its grill or whatever, that following Quentin's lead, we of the gaming culture do not have to explain ourselves because you don't have to answer for the work. You can allow it to speak for itself. And I agree. But what happens if we do this with gaming? What are games saying when we let them speak for themselves? Well, let's listen in. What's that you say, games? Huh? This video and the two I'm going to do after it are going to focus on some of the core reasons gaming alienates non-gamers, or as I call them, those who bathe regularly, or twubbers for short. So let's start with topic el numero uno. Just kidding, not really, but seriously, go shave yourself. You look like a fucking water buffalo in a trench coat. Violence! Let's talk violence, because it's pretty much always topical in the United States of A, because apparently the two things we're best at are inventing burgers nobody should actually ever eat and shooting up schools. And when that happens, twubbers invariably go stupid and point at us in our shooty, punchy, stabby games, and they cry, "Low!" And so I have discovered the source of it all. And then in response, we go, "Oh, what the fuck? People are fucking stupid. I shoot things in games to get my aggression out, not to kill." Yeah. It's all a very predictable and tragic cycle. But yes, it's stupid. Games don't make us kill things in real life. I know it's stupid. You know it's stupid. Let's not even talk about it anymore, okay? The thing is, it's super easy to just get pissy and defensive about our medium, but it's not like we're perfect, and it would be healthy for us to be more self-reflective. I should note that the Penny Arcade guy also had an article specifically about how we should talk about violence in games, if not defensively and reactively when we get blamed for murdering America, then certainly constructively in terms of how we might change and evolve our use of violence in gaming. It's understandable that violence and gaming are so intertwined. The journey in a typical game must be comprised of many smaller challenges, and a very natural and obvious challenge is a conflict in which a thing wants to kill you, so you kill it. It's a simple mechanic that we've been relying on back before the things that were killing you even looked like things that could kill you. And many of the building blocks of this medium are based heavily in shooting faces and otherwise murdering things. We're kinda up there with the Puritans in terms of having a violent-ass history. Even the vocabulary used to discuss the most innocuous games frequently has death, murder, and violence associated with it. Oh, I died. I killed him. I'm dying. I'm dead. I beat the game. And frankly, a lot of the language gamers use online ain't too encouraging neither. Yes, there's a wide variety of games out there that are not violent, but it's more about what represents us. It's that a lot of our bigger games, a lot of what gets the publicity, a lot of what appears on top 10 lists, and a lot of the stuff we classify as the real gamer games are based on a platform of violent acts, and a number of them are pretty intensely graphic. How about E3, which the conferences last year, so much of the footage was based around eviscerations and throat stabbings, and all the people in the audience who are ostensibly gamers are clapping for this shit. Let me just get out of the way up front that I'm not such a chump as to suggest the eradication of all violence in games, aka the Australia method. That said, I am partial to the thoroughly non-violent analysis of economics and the class system to be found in the 1985 title, Donald Duck's Playground. But anyway, here are examples of violence used well in video games. The violence in Condemned Criminal Origins is such a brutal, visceral, disturbing thing. It managed to feel challenging and cool and thrilling, but that was amplified by the fact that getting hurt and hurting someone both sounded and looked horrifying. Oh, Jesus, I'm sorry. Or maybe I just didn't want homeless people getting so near you, but that's a different issue. Resident Evil 4 is nasty as hell, but at least it has a consistent tone with its disturbing, muscly creatures and convulsing thingies. And with all the horrific, violent shit going on, it gave the player a fear of impending violence, which is a really amazing thing that we managed to lose sight of quite frequently in gaming. How about that chainsaw guy? That guy rushing you and taking your head off remained shocking for the entire game. Oh! Limbo is also shocking. Its somber, yet still innocent storybook style belies the goriness that accompanies your character's deaths. They're brutal enough to feel like a punishment that you hope to avoid in the future, making for a pretty thrilling little 2D puzzle platformer. Silent Hill creeps you out with disgusting organic characters that are weirdly familiar, looking like humans strapped in a second skin, and a strong guy with a radiator on his head. It's all very melancholy and at times strangely beautiful, which makes it all feel sadder, closer to reality, and therefore more disturbing. I mean, you kind of feel bad for Pyramid Head. He may be a mannequin rapist, but he's stuck in that thing, and he has to drag that heavy knife around everywhere. And yeah, I'll admit sometimes violence is just viscerally satisfying on a weird gut level, which coincidentally is something Tarantino also once said.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because
a little
it's so
of it?
much fun, Chan. Get it?
But in those examples I brought up, there are more dimensions to the violence.
The violence is tied to an emotion.
And these dimensions aren't at the expense of these games being engaging or fun or cool. In fact, this stuff is more impactful because physical violence in real life is never not tied to something psychological. But these good examples of violence usage are the exceptions. More often, it's the oversaturation of violence, the piling of violence on violence because we can't think of anything more novel. Look, I get why Kratos is cutting open this elephant's head. Remember in the first game when you had to burn that guy alive? Well, now we're 7 games in. What are you gonna do? Cut open the elephant's head. This is not the right way to do it. Violence plus violence just cheapens the violence. We get desensitized and react less to it, or even clap and cheer for it. Stop clapping, you weird bloodlusty sheep. And the problem at this point is to people who aren't gamers, this makes us look like monsters. And for gamers like me, it's just getting fucking boring. I'm not even affected by this crowd. I'm just disappointed and sleepy. And yes, over-the-top violence can be used as a statement, but the violence in gaming is so often over-the-top already that the statement can get lost, like with Spec Ops The Line. Though I don't deny the effort of it, Spec Ops seemed designed to prove to people who played games like it that they were playing horrific orgies of disturbing violence all along. Game journalists that reviewed it basically just said the violence, well, that's a fair point, well made. When someone from the New York Times reviewed it, he said the game lacked subtlety, and by the end it felt like a snuff game. Do you see what I'm saying? We're at the point that we're so violent that we have to make games just to prove to ourselves that we're violent. And past that, we still have to prove to twubbers that we're non-violent. Man, are we screwed. We could do with some new approaches to violence, or hey, less games on the whole focused on murdering things. I mean, that would mean we'd get different types of games, which makes gaming more interesting and makes me less sleepy. We have a long way to go, because we don't just glorify violence, we fetishize it a lot. Here's some examples. Oh, how about this? Oh, sexy. This just came out. I didn't even go looking for this promo art for Drakengard 3. I just found it the other day by accident because it was a top story on n4g.com. Hey, remember that one time a developer literally fetishized violence? Anyway, this is my segue for the next video, so wait for me to finish that one. Or if you're watching this in the future and the video is already done, go watch it now and please donate to the charity made in my name that puts money toward researching lethal addictions to Doritos Locos Tacos. Gracias.